That looks comfy.
Oh yeah, got the
You
mountains
live
in the
in
background.
you live in Breckenridge?
I do.
Nice. How long you been there?
A little over 2 years,
Okay,
couple
nice.
months change. Yeah, man.
What
What about
what
yourself?
I live in Boulder, man.
Oh
I've
hell
been in
yeah,
Boulder for just about 9 years or so, so quite a while. But
cool.
yeah, we're both in Colorado. We both know the mountains. We're both living the mountain life, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
Um, what brought you to Breckenridge?
Um, a handful of things. I grew up coming out here my entire life. My uncles lived here for about 30 years, so I was fortunate to be able to grow up, come out here to ski and hike in the summers and stuff like that. So I always knew that I wanted to be here at some point, and then I ended up getting out of the Navy a few years back and just decided I wanted to go straight here, and that's what I did. Just packed up and came right here to the mountains.
Yeah. Why Colorado? I mean, have you always been an outdoorsman?
Yeah, for the most part, I played sports growing up, and I'm from Texas originally, right? So there's
Mhm.
not a whole lot to do in the outdoors in the city for the most part. And so I just always enjoyed being in the mountains and skiing, and all I really knew was Colorado from growing up and coming here. And
Yeah.
so I just came straight here because of that.
Nice. Were
Oh yeah.
you doing a lot of running before you moved to Colorado, or did Colorado sort of like open up this new world for you?
I grew up running track and cross country. So I did those for, my younger years going into high school, out of high school. And then I actually joined the Navy to try to become a Navy SEAL. I
Oh,
went through buds training and quit in Hell Week was the I don't even know what the word is for it, but I ended up quitting in Hell Week and training for that and going through all that kind of stuff. It increased my fitness a lot and got me back into running and wanting to push myself both physically and mentally.
definitely.
And so I ended up moving here, just already being in it. I was already training for a marathon before I moved here. Came out here, ran my first trail marathon like a month later, and yeah, it opened up a huge world just with the mountains and trails and not running on concrete.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah.
Um, so the reason I wanted to have you on the show is correct me if I'm wrong, but this was a world record you just set, right?
Yes, sir.
A world record for 400,000 vertical feet in the month of October.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that's a lot of vertical feet. Like I do a lot of
Yeah.
hiking, a lot of running. I know what 2,000 feet looks like and how long that
Yeah.
takes, right? So I
Oh
know that
yeah.
this is just a massive, massive project. Um, Going back, are you like a pretty skilled ultra runner? Have you done a bunch of ultra marathons, or you're only like 26 years old, right? So like,
Yeah.
where are you at on this journey?
This is really just the beginning for me. I've
Really?
been running since I've been here in Colorado. I did the Max Vert thing with Circuit Series last year. And I've done several ultra distances in my training, like 40 miles plus. Like my biggest day ever was my birthday last year, 25K with like 45 miles.
Mm.
And so, I haven't really done any actual races besides a trail marathon that was a little bit further than a marathon. It wasn't quite a 50K, but a little bit further than just the standard marathon. And so, yeah, man, I'm just started digging into it, and I'm loving it. It's kind of my thing, and running far in the mountains is really where I'm at. So that's kind of where I've been focusing on.
Nice, nice, man. So, do you have races that you're looking at in the future, or aren't you really even at that point yet? Or where are you at there?
Yeah, I've got some races I want to do next year, like the Leadville 100.
Nice.
I'd like to do that. I'd really like to do it the Leadman style and do all the races combined throughout
Yep.
the summer.
Yep.
So that would be ideal. I'm also going to be running the majority of the Cirque Series races, which they're not quite, ultras. They're shorter, just almost VKs. It's anywhere from 5 to 8 miles with 2 to 4,000 feet of vert, depending on location. So those are a lot of fun. I did them all this past summer, and they're a good time. But yeah, Leadville is kind of one of my big eye openers. Is what I want to do. Other than that, I just have big peak projects. Like I want to do Nolan's 14. That's my biggest goal for this next summer. Those
Wow.
those kinds of things are what interest me a little more than the racing. I mean, I really love the racing and the competitive aspect, but I also like going out and linking up big mountains and doing it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same, man. I like racing and I love the race. I love Leadville. It's my favorite race. I've done it a
Yeah.
couple times, and I generally don't like big races, but there's something about Leadville, even though it's a big race, there's just something about it that's just so enticing and it just draws you
Yeah.
in. It's like the Leadville family or something. I just love everything about it.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, my uncles have both, and my cousin actually, they've all raced the mountain bike series probably 5 years in a row now. And one of my uncles, I think, closer to 10. And so it's like I'm the kind of the runner guy in the family, not the biker. I can
Yeah,
bike, but it's like I'd rather go and run it and do that whole shebang.
totally. Well, if you're
Yeah.
going to do lead, man, you might want to brush up on your mountain biking skills between now and
Yeah.
then.
You're very right. You're very right.
uh, have you put some scouting in on the Nolan's line?
Yeah. So, you know, originally I was planning on doing it this past summer and I pushed it back because I sprained my ankle multiple times. And one of them was right before I was going to shoot my attempt. And so I pushed that back. But yeah, I've been out there. I've put quite a bit of hours into scouting the route, and I'm going to do the same thing again before I actually give another attempt next year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know the majority of the route pretty much by heart. You know, it's pretty straightforward for the most part.
It is. I've spent a bunch of time out there. Do you plan on going south to north or north to south?
South to north.
South to north. Okay.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the more popular way nowadays.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know exactly why, but I know like going up Tabawash is probably a little bit more difficult coming from the north side just because of the scree fields. It's either you go up the scree fields or you go around and add a few extra miles, you know?
yeah. Well, plus you can get Princeton knocked out on the first day rather than that being on your second day of no sleep. And it's usually at night going north to south too. So yeah, I mean, that's almost the big crux of the whole thing is just getting Princeton knocked out and being safe at the end of that
For
day.
sure. Yeah.
That's
and
cool,
you know,
man.
the goal is to crack Joey's FKT. That's what I really want to do.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
That's the plan.
That is stout, dude. That is stout. I've had Joey on the podcast right after he set the
Oh,
record.
hell yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, dude is legit, man. So
for sure.
Okay.
And
so
I know he put in the work, you know, he definitely put in the work.
Oh, dude, he's a stud. There's no way you can get around that. He's a stud. So,
For
okay,
sure.
man. So I'm getting to know you a little bit better. So you must be pretty fast if that's, if that's what you're looking at.
I'm decently quick. When I was scouting Chavno, Tabawash, and Antero, I got an FKT on that first 3 peak line by just a few minutes.
Really?
And
No
wasn't pushing like super hard. So that was kind of cool.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I move at about 2K an hour, give or take, depending on the terrain. So up and down.
Nice.
Which I think it's decent. You know, I'm not gonna be probably running up these 14ers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Power hiking pretty fast, but that's kind of how that goes, I feel like.
Well, I guess when I saw what you had just done through the Max Vert challenge in October, I just assumed that you were just a vert guy and you spent a lot of time just going up and down, and that was your thing. That was what you're good at. But it sounds like you've got some speed under you as well. So you've got like the best of both worlds, man. You're 26 years old. You've got speed. You've got, you know, the tenacity and ability to go out in the mountains for long amounts of time and gain freaking 400,000 vertical feet in a month. That's insane, man. So
thanks, brother.
It sounds like you're at a prime spot in your life to like just light this thing up.
Exactly, man. I'm so stoked on what the future holds and just getting back after training and really seeing what happens within the next few years, you know?
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, good for you. Where did this all come from with you? Like, you mentioned you were trying to get into the Navy SEALs, and I'd love to talk about that, but have you always been into sports and stuff? You said you did some sports when you were a kid, but like, where does this passion and this drive come from? Like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, what's your why?
My why, you know, it kind of stems from a few things. So yeah, I grew up running track, cross country, playing football, and I really loved being active. Like that was just my thing. Also grew up coming out here to ski, and I really enjoyed that. That was easily my favorite thing growing up. So getting out of the mountains has always been huge for me whenever I was able to. But going through training for buds and the SEAL training and all that kind of stuff, which is really difficult, really just opened my eyes and mind to what there is out there and what I can, grasp with both mental and physical limits and abilities. So quitting in Hell Week was probably one of the worst things I've ever done, both mentally, mainly mentally. I just put myself in mental hell for quite a bit of time, feeling like that dude that said he's going to do something big and then not do it, And so ever since then, I've always just wanted to push my physical and mental limits as far as possible with anything I do. And that's always been the whole main why. And that's also hopefully motivating and inspiring others to do the same, get out of their comfort zones and realize that there's more to just sitting around, you can actually get out and do stuff. Yeah. And it's all about just getting up and trying.
Yeah, totally. And you're right. Inspiring people to do the same is like where you take this, that's like the next step. The evolution of this whole thing is inspiring people to do the same thing and sort of passing that knowledge along. So I feel like your head's in the right spot, man. It's pretty cool. I've done a lot of reading and research on the Navy SEALs because I'm always interested in their mindset and just how they are just so insane. They're like, they can meditate like the highest monks on the mountain, or they can get in there and take care of business like no other badass around. They have sort of all skill levels to go in and handle whatever situation is in front of them. What initially attracted you to the Navy SEALs? And I'm also curious, like what your training was leading up to Hell Week.
Yeah, man. The attraction was just being that guy that was harder than everybody else, that did harder things, pushed themselves, and was just all around a beast, I was mentored by a few of my dad's friends that were former Navy SEALs while I was getting ready to train. And so they kind of instilled a pretty solid mind space of like what it takes to become one. And something fell apart at one point in Hell Week, and that's just how that goes. And there's a couple of good things that one of my former mentors was telling me. He's like, I never wanted you to make it through Hell Week, mainly because you needed something to break you down and put you in the ground so you can realize that there's a lot more to the whole aspect of things. And if I wouldn't have made it through, I wouldn't be where I'm at now with, the world record and doing the endurance things that I'm doing now. And so using that to just get broken down and grow has really been huge. But training wise, going into it, we did all kinds of like 2-a-day, 3-day training, whether it be swimming with a mix of body weight workouts, running with the body weight workouts, swimming and running back and forth. But man, buds was an ass kicking for sure. So, leading up to Hell Week, it was pretty wild. We did a lot of running with boats in our head. You have a 7-man crew, maybe 6, depending on how many people are in the class at the time. But you're running around with like 350 pound boats in your heads through soft sand, just getting absolutely beat to the ground. I mean, horrible pain. It's not fun. And then you got log PT, which, your 7 guys have like 150 pound log, if I remember correctly. And you're just doing squats for 30 minutes or lunges for 30 minutes or overhead presses back and forth for however long. And it's like an hour and a half to 2 hour long beating of just logs. And that was really not fun. And then, I mean, that's just part of it. The whole first part of buds leading into Hell Week is pretty much just seeing who's the tough dudes and who's not, and who can push mentally and who can get past the physical for the most part. And it's like, we did surf torture, which we were a class that started in February. So we had the coldest waters of the year. And man, it was like 46-degree water. And we'd lay in it for 15 minutes, get out, be shivering like a mofo, and then have to hop right back in, do that whole shebang. I mean, it was a long, strenuous amount of effort and work. And, don't want to make excuses or anything. And it just sucks that what happened in Hell Week happened. Our boat crew was just really weak. All 7 of us ended up quitting within like 30 or 45 minutes of each other, which like doesn't happen. And so the whole boat crew just got wiped out. Half the dudes, if that, were carrying their weight. I mean, I was just in a bad place mentally and just didn't think I was going to be able to push past it. And when I look back on it, it's like I was completely okay. I had no injuries. All these other guys are suffering through stress fractures, whatever else. And I'm just running around, just hurting just because I have a boat on my head, and
Right.
feeling just feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
And so it's like instantly when you quit in a situation like that, you feel 100% again. It's like as soon as I rang the bell, I'm right back in it. And like I could have kept going, but I didn't because I quit.
Yeah.
And so those feelings are not very fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to like draw or to sit here and talk about this if it's like not good feelings for you.
Oh man.
But that being said, like I'm sure that whatever you went through in Hell Week that made you decide that you can't go on, I'm sure that you must have learned so much about yourself.
Yeah.
And your mind must have been expanded so much, and you must just realize like I can push so much further than I ever thought I could.
Exactly. And that's kind of where everything stems from that I'm doing now. That's exactly what I learned. Those are all the good lessons I learned. And I really do enjoy talking about it because it brings out my part of the story of where I'm at now. I wouldn't be here without all that happening. And I do enjoy talking about it, whether the feelings are bad or not. It's like that already happened,
Yeah.
It is what it is. Things happen for a reason, and I'm here now. So
for sure. Yeah. And did you say that was about a few years ago? 3 years ago or so, did you say?
Yeah, that was I think that was 2020, 21. That was 2019, I believe. Like the beginning of 2019 is when I was going through buds.
Okay. And so I'm looking at you now and you have long hair. I'm guessing that was like the last time you cut your hair. That looks like about 3 years of hair growth.
Yeah, I haven't cut my hair since. And when I went in, my hair was long as well. It was probably longer than this.
Really?
And they shaved it right off.
Yep. And so when you are at Hell Week and you decide to ring the bell and tap out, do you have another chance to try again? I know people get rolled over for injuries and stuff, but are you able to do it again, to try Hell Week again?
So once you quit and ring the bell, you're pretty much done. The only way to get back into it and do it again is you serve like a year and a half before you can even put an application back in to even attempt to get another spot at Buds. And so you got to start the whole process all the way over, earn a contract again. And it's a lot harder once you quit because there's not a lot of spots for those guys. I mean, they have a handful of people that they'll allow back in. And, it just wasn't in my mind space at the time. Like when I quit, I just didn't even think years ahead. And I mean, I'd just be starting right now if I got lucky enough to get back into a class, which I've been talking to a bunch of my old buds, and none of them got accepted again. It's like they went through whatever they went through to try to get an application, a packet put back in, and none of them are getting back in. And so, I talk to my friends already, even SEALs now, and they look at the stuff I'm doing. Some of them are pretty jealous because there's not a lot going on in the teams. It's pretty I guess just not where you want to be right now. And the morale is just not very high. So I think I pulled the right trigger and got out at the right time and made something happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now you're out there doing these big things, which is impressive, man. I want to hear about this month. Like, did you
for sure
plan from the beginning to do 400,000 vertical feet? Was that your game plan going into it? Okay, it was.
It sure was.
Okay, and so the gentleman who won last year, did he get like 300,000 some odd feet, and you were trying to beat that record?
Yes, he got 342 and some change.
Okay.
A couple hundred feet or so.
Yeah. And so how were you looking at this project? Like day one, I'm going to go out and get 10,000 feet and just slowly start stacking it up? Or how did this whole thing happen, man?
Yeah, man. So day one, went out, started at midnight, 15K, knocked that out before 9 a.m. Really, my plan was to do 15K a day all the way through and try to really push it closer to 450, 500, which didn't happen for a lot of reasons. One of those being my training load was really small leading into the month because of my ankle injuries. And so, my training weeks were 30 to 40 miles if that, with 10 to 15K a day or 10 to 15K a week. And so it's like I'm coming into the month, day one, doing a week's worth of work in one day,
Right.
and then do it again day two. So I did 15K day 1 and 2. My knees were just trashed, destroyed. Day 3 hurt real bad. I got 10K barely, or might have been 12, something like that. But day 4 and 5 rolled around, and it was to the point my knees hurt so bad that I couldn't even walk up or downhill anymore. I got 3K day 5 and pretty much just stopped right there. Day 6 took a 0.
Really?
This guy didn't know if I was going to keep going or not. Had no idea the way my knees felt. I've never felt pain like that before in my life, and it had to be some kind of soft tissue, something like that. If I were to guess, maybe tendonitis or whatever. But yeah, I mean, my goal was just to come in hot, bang out 15Ks every day as long as I could, and really like the goal. The plan was to do 15K 6 days in a row, do a 10K day, and then at 28 days I'd be at 400 with 3 days left. That just didn't happen. It just didn't happen at all. And so, yeah, man, knees are hurting. I'm here in Bragg. I spent the first 5 days at a hill just right down the road here that I made a trail on last year during the month. And it's like just a short 400-foot hill, about 28 degrees. So it's, pretty steep. And I can just rack up vert with less mileage, right? And it destroyed my knees. I went to the PT day 6. That was my 0 day. Talked to a PT. We did a lot of dry needling. I think we probably put in 15 plus needles, and it hurt. Worst pain I ever felt.
That sucks. Yeah, dry needling is not fun to begin with, especially if you're putting it into a painful area, man.
Yeah. The dude was like, yeah, man, the knots you have in your legs and glutes, they're probably some of the worst I've ever seen in an endurance runner. And I'm like, great. I guess that's what happens when you don't take care of your body for however many years. And so, we did that, did some dry needling. And right after that, I just got in my car and drove straight to Salt Lake City, not knowing how I was going to feel the next day waking up. All I knew is I wanted to be there where more people were taking part in the challenge, where my teammate was, and just in a better environment, a little bit steeper of a trail, but less loose. The trail over here is a lot of loose sticks and rocks. And so I got in my truck, drove straight there, real sore from the needles, and didn't know what was going to happen. Didn't know if I was going to wake up the next day and just not be able to walk again or not.
Right,
and so just took a chance, Sure enough, it worked out pretty well.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, man.
Take a chance. That's what it's all about. I mean, you've got to take a chance in life. You've got to show up in life. And that's when the things happen. And, they're not going to happen while you're on your couch thinking about it. You got to take a chance and gamble once in a while.
Exactly. You're 100% correct about that.
Okay. So if I followed that correctly, you were doing some hiking and running on a hill close to you. And then you decided to go where? To Utah to finish the rest of the month?
Yeah.
In Utah.
Yep.
Okay.
I went Salt Lake City. There's a peak right there on the front range called Grander Peak. And that's where the dude that won it last year did all of his vert.
Okay.
And that's where the Cirque Series competition, that's where most people are at. And so everybody that was really putting in decent vert was there in Grander for the most part.
Okay.
And so being around community is just kind of a big, big thing, and not sitting on a hill by myself all day, every day.
It's a big motivator. It changes things up for sure.
It does, for sure.
So was there a lot of people out there? Were you making a lot of friends over the month?
Oh, yeah.
People knew what you were doing?
A lot of people. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Even people that weren't doing the challenge. Like I'd recognize and talk with, it's got to be at least 20 to 30 people, if not more than that I saw on a daily basis almost,
Right.
We talk, chat, give them the update of what's going on. And it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're just going up and down Grander every single day?
Pretty much. I get there day 1, bust out 12,500 feet with my teammate. We did, felt good. Knees weren't hurting like they were. They were hurting, but to the point where I could still walk and run up and down the hill, Wasn't too crazy. Did that again, did 13K the next day, 14K the next day. Knees are still, they're all right. Getting a little better. did another 13, another 14. So like first 6 days out there, I put in quite a bit of work on these knees. And I think come around like day 15, the knee pain just went away completely.
Really? Nice.
Which was awesome.
Lucky,
you know,
man.
those days those first 6 days out there, it was weird. Like I'd have to do like 8 to 10,000 feet and my knees would finally warm up and then they weren't hurt at all. So it's like the last 3 or 4K of the day, my knees are perfect. But leading up into that, the knees are hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. So were there times in the first week of this where you were wondering if it was even going to happen?
Definitely. You know, day 4 and 5, I'm putting in smaller numbers than I was needing and didn't really know what was going to happen. Talking to my dad, talking to my other people that I've been just, you know, that I'm a sports system. And some of them are kind of like, well, there's always next year. And I'm sitting here thinking, no, there's not. we got this year.
Yes.
We told every single person that this is what I'm doing and I got to do it. I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so my uncle, you know, he told me a bunch of good stuff like, man, that you got a big shot here. You know, Julian's sticking his name out there for you, signing you up for all this stuff. You know, it's kind of a big deal at the time. And so I'm just sitting here thinking, well, I don't want to let anybody down. And I really don't want to let myself down. And so I got to try, give it a shot. Like I said, give it a shot, drive out there, see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hell yeah. And you gambled and it paid off.
It paid off.
That's awesome.
And it was definitely a painful month. I battled quite a bit of more injuries throughout the month.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So more than just the knees.
More than just the knees. Some that were even worse than knees.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I can only imagine, man. I mean, you racked up like 538 miles throughout this whole month. Does that sound right?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. So I can only imagine things were probably hurting like pretty bad.
Yeah, sure was, especially when, you know, you're putting in only 30 or 40 mile weeks leading up into it.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that's brutal. So was most of your hiking in the daytime or were you doing a lot at night as well?
The majority was daytime.
Okay.
The only times I'd hike at night would be like if I started too late in the day or I took another nap and just needed extra sleep.
Yeah.
If I started after noon or like after 1 p.m., there's a good chance I'm spending at least an hour in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like some days I started at even 3 and I'd be spending 3 or 4 hours in the dark.
Sure.
Now,
what are you doing while you're out there? Did you have friends out there that you could crash with, or were you just dirt bagging it or staying in a motel, or what were you doing?
Yeah. So Gnarly Nutrition, was one of my support systems sponsors throughout the month, still, you know, a sponsor now. The CEO, he had a good buddy that had a condo there or has a condo there. And he's been out of town in Mexico for months. And so he reached out to him, told me there is a open spot and I could go crash it. And so I had a whole condo downtown to myself, be able to do all my stuff in the morning after I got done for the day. And it was great.
Beautiful.
It helped a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. It sounds like the stars just aligned for this to happen. You know, everything worked out. That's beautiful.
It did. You know, it's like I wanted to do the dirt bag thing, but the more I talk to people, the more I realize it's like I need space to recover, eat, you know, shower, take a crap, you know, everything, you know, normal things. And it's kind of hard to do that when you're in the back of the truck hiking for up to 9 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done it, man. And yeah, it's fun. And you look back and have these great memories.
Oh, yeah.
If you're trying to set a world record, dude, get yourself a comfy bed in between.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your like food and nutrition strategy out there? I mean, I'm sure you were bringing a lot with you and going through a ton of food, and I'm sure you were eating a ton of food when you weren't on the trail as well.
Oh yeah.
So like, what did that look like throughout the month?
So I had a good buddy here in town that actually meal prepped a bunch of tubs of food for me that were probably about 4,000 calories a piece.
Wow.
And I ate those for like a week and a half until I got sick of them. So that was great and all. But, you know, my daily routine, I was right next to a bakery. I'd go over to the bakery, stack up probably 2,000 calories worth of pastries and just sweets, just because I like sweets. And I don't really have a strict diet to begin with. So I just went over there, grabbed a bunch of stuff, ate about 2,000 calories of pastries before every day of hiking, right? And then I would use the Gnarly Nutrition Fuel 2.0, which is 100 calories a scoop and like 12 ounces of water. And I ended up putting 3 to 4 scoops and like 16 ounces of water, just because I need a lot more calories than just 100. And I would bring close to half a gallon of water every day up there, all full of gnarly. I mean, close to 1,500 to 2,000 calories worth of Fuel 2O. I'd bring all that with a few honey stingers, just a few solids. And I'd carry it all to a couple bushes that we had as like a little stash spot, I would say. It was probably maybe a quarter mile up the trail, a few hundred feet. And it was just the perfect spot because that's where we lapped the steep areas, and just stashed everything in there. Every hour-ish, I would go down, drink 200 calories, eat 100 calories, and just kind of do that the whole time. Afterwards, it really just depended on what time of the day I finished. And so I didn't spend any time cooking food. I really just went to whatever was open, called in a pizza or burgers or Olive Garden, just pasta, really anything I could get that was a lot of calories.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of money on food.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you had that free condo to live in, right?
Yeah.
It balances each other out there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
And, gnarly helped out a huge portion. It's like, man, I probably went through over $1,000 worth of nutrition. Sure. Easy. Yeah. And that's just more money saved in the bank, and so grateful for them for helping out with, the effort and whatnot.
Yeah. That's so cool. They're such a cool company.
Yeah. They're great.
So that's cool, man. So you could just kind of go up and down this thing without carrying a pack or a handheld water bottle because you just had a stash. So you're going up there without carrying anything?
Yeah, for the most part. I did a lot of full laps to begin with. When I was doing full laps, I would carry maybe 12 ounces of water with Fuel 2O with it. And after like 15 full laps, I realized that the top half of the mountain's just not worth really going up and down because it's a lot more technical for the feet, better chance to trash my ankles, and it just is slower both up and down. So we ended up lapping like a 1,000 foot section. And that was kind of like where the meat of the whole effort was, just this 1,000 foot section on the hill. And I'd do it maybe 2 times before getting to my stash and eating a little bit and whatnot.
Okay. So I'm picturing like hill repeats that are super, super steep and not quite as technical, like not really loose rock, more of a trail. So you can just go out and you're literally just trying to bang out as much vert as you can.
Literally. Yeah. That's pretty much all that happened the entire month.
And so is that a page out of the book of the gentleman that won this last year? Is that what he did?
Yeah, that's pretty much what he did. And I know he did a lot more full laps than I did, but there was a lot spent down low as well.
Okay. Yeah. Have you talked to him?
And this is a guy, we exchanged some messages here and there, and, he's really stoked on the effort. Yeah, coming from a dude like that, he's a professional ultra runner. The dude's 32 or something like that. He's been doing this for quite some time, and he's really good at what he does. So it was pretty cool to hear from him about, how stoked he was that I was able to battle all the injuries and whatnot throughout the month and really just navigate 400,000 feet.
No kidding, dude. So we talked about the first week and sort of trials and tribulations there. What came up over the next following weeks? Like you said, there was more injuries.
Oh yeah.
I mean, was there more doubt? Was there moments where you're like, okay, I'm way in over my head. This is not going to happen. And then you still get out the next day and get after it.
Yeah. It was kind of like that all month. Especially when I was really hurting. So I think about 2 weeks in, right before my knee pain just completely went away, it was a really bad day on my knees once again. And we're sitting up top of the mountain. We decided to go up top again. It snowed. There's like a foot of snow on the ground. We're just sitting up there. My knees are banging. And I see this Ziploc bag sticking out of the snow, right? So I go pick up the bag. I'm thinking, man, someone just left the trash up here. Like, what the hell? I was completely wrong. The first words of the letter said, if you're reading this, this is meant for you. And then it goes in to talk about how this dude named Brandon is battling MS. And that's a pretty not cool disease or whatever it is to have. And so he just kind of talked about his story and like what his physical battles are and how he wants people like us to, spread our love and our compassion for what we do, and especially spread the message of what we're doing to him and help move the letter. And just reading about his story immediately made my knee pain go away. After that, knees were good. Never felt my knees again. And that was really cool to see. And so whenever I'd get into hard times where I'm in pain again, I'd start thinking about that letter, what I read, and Brandon in general, which it was a huge motivation throughout the month.
Okay. So did Brandon like hike up this mountain and leave that letter up there? Or did someone hike it up there for him, or what was that all about?
Someone hiked it up there for him. He's been moving letters around for about a year now. And it all started with his hospice worker that hiked one up to, I don't even know which peak, but there's a handful of letters that are circling around out in the mountains, and they've gone as far as to Everest. He's been on top of Everest twice, which is pretty cool. And so, yeah, people, you know, at the bottom of the letter, it says, please be my arms and legs, carry me wherever you'd like, and place me there.
Whoa.
And
that's pretty heavy.
Pretty cool.
That is
cool,
it's pretty cool. Cool. Okay. So that was in the second week that you found that?
That was right at the end of the second week.
Okay. Okay.
And that was the end of my knee pain, but the start of some new stuff.
That was the end of the knee pain. That's interesting that, you know, you suffered that hard and then it just went away. Like you worked through it. That's pretty crazy.
It's crazy.
Wow. So then what was the next nemesis?
The next one was calves. Well, specifically one calf. It was, from what my coaches say and the way I described it, it was like a soft tissue fascia tear, and it was just from overuse, overworking. And that hindered me a little bit. I had to limp a lot up and down and walk a certain way to not really feel it. And that went away after like 3 days of pushing through. And then, you know, it's all the same leg for the most part. That's really bad. And so then my quad on that leg, same thing happens. Like at the end of a 16K day, last lap up top, about to run down, first step downhill, my quad is just locking up and it won't let me run. So I'm sitting here thinking, there's just no way, you know, like this is the worst pain I've felt yet, worse than the knees, worse than day 5 of the knees. And I'm like limping downhill thinking, I'm screwed. Like this is just not what I need, you know, which that was quite the time. So that was day 20, I believe. Day 20, pushed through it. Well, it started at the end of day 20. Day 21, I pushed through it for the most part, got like 12K. Day 22 is the day before my birthday, and it was really bad that day. And I only did like 5K. I thought, you know, I figured maybe I'll take a rest day, let it kind of heal, or at least attempt to heal, and then go bang out whatever I can on my birthday. And that's not what happened. I was planning on doing an Everest for my birthday, you know, 29K.
Nice.
That was my original plan. Last year I did 25K for turning 25. And so I wanted to go a little bigger this year.
Dang.
I didn't need that much vert, but I just wanted to do it for a good boost, you know. And I get up at 3 a.m. I start my first lap. First lap leg is just screwed. I'm sitting there thinking, God damn it. So I get down, I go and lay in my truck for about 3.5 hours, just napping, not really knowing what I'm going to do next. And one of the guys that's helping me film showed up around 7:30 in the morning, and we started chatting a little bit. I'm sitting here like feeling really bad, you know, really sorry for myself, like kind of the way I was feeling at Buds and Hell Week, similar thing, like telling them, now I'm really close to the record at this point. I'm probably less than 70,000 feet away. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, I got 8 days. I'm telling them I got 8 days left. I can at least get the record. I mean, that's no big deal. I can limp up for 8 days. I can make that happen. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's probably what I'm going to do. I just don't know if I can do much more than that. Sure enough, I get to going, get to limping again, and limped out 18,500 that day, just up and down. And that was my lowest point right there at the morning, not knowing what I was going to do. I was also really sick. I had a pretty bad cold kicking me in the ass for about a week. And so feeling horrible, legs hurting, just not knowing if I'm going to keep going, you know, like to the extent that I wanted to. Yeah. Pushed through to 18.5, didn't get quite the Everest, but 18.5 was good enough for me. I felt good besides my leg. But after that, I realized that this physical pain I'm feeling can all be pushed through if I want to push through it. And that was the high point of my month, knowing that whatever I'm feeling now can be pushed through for the most part, unless you break your leg or whatever. Yeah. But that's completely different. And so I pushed through that. Next day, it's pretty much gone. 18.5K on my quad. Next day I wake up, no pain anymore in my leg. I'm like, let's go. We're rocking and rolling.
Wow.
So pretty stoked. Kind of back on track to 400 the way I originally wanted. You know, I have to average 15K a day to get to where I wanted to be at 400K. So doable. And I knew it was doable because last year I wanted 250K and I had 6 days left to get 90. So I did the math, 15K a day, 6 days in a row. I'm like, well, I've done it once. I could do it again, you know, and here we are doing it again. And man, I think about 3 days into it, I started having foot tendonitis. And to the point where at the end of the days, as soon as I would stop, I couldn't walk anymore. I was literally like hopping and limping up to my room, into my bed, and whatnot. It hurt real bad. I mean, my foot was ridiculously swollen. I think I pushed through that for 3 days, and somehow that just completely went away as well. Just gone, which was ridiculous because I'd never heard of tendonitis going away while you're still working through it, you know, working on it.
Right.
So just, I guess, lucky again, you know, and lucky in a sense, you know, it still hurt, but it went away. And it was really stiff for the following days, but it was doable. And after feeling what I felt in my quad and pushing through for 18,000 feet, I knew that this is just another one of those obstacles I got to figure out, you know, which I figured it out.
Yeah, it sounds like you did. And yeah, like I said earlier, the stars aligned, man. It sounds like a lot of things went your way. And that's crucial. That's crucial for something like this, man. So that's really cool. You mentioned that you have some coaches. Were you getting trained up specifically for this event, or were you just too injured beforehand where you really couldn't do what you were supposed to do, or what was that like? Oh, shoot, did I lose you?
Yeah, so I've been working with Sam Sara for probably 6 months now, and this is Zahan Villamora and Esther Smith. So Zahan's a pretty large name in the community. No, you know, most of my training was really focused on Nolan's because that was my big objective for the summer, and that was really what I was getting ready for. So it's a little bit different style. And after I decided I wasn't going for that anymore, my training just got really small, like small loads, you know, not very large volume. And I mean, they helped me, you know, what they really helped me work with was the injuries, their injury prevention and the ways of dealing with my injuries throughout the month with like fast tissue or what is it called? Soft tissue massaging and stuff like that, how to foam roll correctly and all those kinds of things. I mean, they helped me a lot with getting my pain to subside and just go away for the most part. And they played a huge role in that.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. You also mentioned having a film crew with you. So explain that and like, when are we going to be able to see this film?
Yeah, man. So we're shooting we shot a short film. We're getting one last piece together. We're going to go interview Zahan here in a few weeks at Jackson. But my good friend Gabe, we've been friends for about a year now, and I met him while skiing with Julian about a year ago. And we just started chatting. You know, we were originally going to make a short film about Nolan's, and that obviously didn't happen. We got some film beforehand of me training and like all the stuff I was doing to get ready. But my plans and goals switched and changed. And I think for the better, because this is something no one's done yet. And so I think that we'll have a little more credibility in the film. And I don't know, it'll probably be ready in February, something like that. It's going to be a short film. We're trying to get it into some film festivals and see what happens. Hopefully inspire some people to go do hard things.
Hell yeah. No, I love it, man. I think it's fantastic. You're right though. There hasn't really been, I mean, there's been small films on Nolan's, but nothing really magnificent. I'd love to see just a big picture, even if it's a half an hour. I'd love to see something that really just focuses on Nolan's and tells all the ins and the outs and maybe your personal story as well. That would be a really cool film.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that's potentially our next project.
Cool. I love Nolan's, dude. So if you complete Nolan's, I'm definitely going to get you back on here.
Sick.
I have as many Nolan's people on the show as I possibly can because a big one that's kind of hanging over my head too. I've made a few attempts at it and it's still hanging over my head. So eventually it's going to happen. But I love talking to all my Nolans people and hearing all the little intricacies of each route that they took. And I just love hearing all the details. But
it's a monster, man. I mean, ever since I moved here, I climbed my first 14er and I somehow ran into Nolans online. I'm just like, I'm doing that.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I got to do that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool.
But it's so hard to explain how difficult it is to people who've never spent any time out there too. Like I try and explain, you're going up and down avalanche chutes and scree gullies and people are just like, okay, whatever. It's hard to explain.
They don't realize it. It's like, I took a picture and posted like the scree field I ran down Avalanche, Missouri. And it's like, it's steep shit, you know, like you're running down some steep stuff.
Oh,
and no one realizes that.
Yeah, I know.
It's so cool though. I find it so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So do I, man. Explain to me what this last week was like in October. So you're looking at this record, injuries are going away. Everything seems to be sort of lining up for you. How are you feeling like mentally, physically going into the last week of this project?
Yeah, man. So after my birthday, mentally, I was just cruising. I knew there was nothing that was going to stop me, whether another injury popped up. So it was knowing I knew I was going to get the goal after my birthday, like had that low point and then the high point, knew immediately like, yeah, we're getting it no matter what it takes. And so the next day, the weather was horrible. And I flew home to Colorado because of how bad the weather was supposed to be the next 3 days. And so I came down to Denver, put some laps up in Morrison, if you know where that is.
Yep.
Mount Morrison. I did a lot of laps there last year. And man, the trail has gotten a lot worse. And so I ended up doing a lot shorter of a day than I planned on when I first got here. I only did like 8K, which made my last 6 days 16K days. So I had to do 16K 6 days in a row to get to 400. And once again, I knew it was possible because I did it once before, but at only 1,000 feet less, which 30 extra minutes, you know? So I didn't want to do Morrison again. So I went and drove down to the Springs and hit the Manitou incline with some guys that were competing down there. And man, that thing is a beast. I did 8 laps on that, like 8.5 to 16. And I was just thinking, like, the guys that are sitting here doing this every day are ridiculous.
Oh, there's a lot of them down there that do it every single day.
Every day. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And after that first 8, I was like, yeah, I'm flying back to Utah, like, first thing in the morning. I had some dude that was like, yeah, man, like, I got a place for you to stay. Let's do it again tomorrow. And I'm like, no. I am not doing that. And I woke up the next day, my calves were so sore. Sorest they've probably ever been in my life. And I'm like, damn, here we are again.
So did you go back to Utah a second time?
Oh, yeah. I flew right back to Utah. Yeah,
no
so
way.
I drove originally. So I was gonna have to go back regardless. And I didn't know when that was going to be. I thought I might have spent a couple of days at the incline because less miles. Well, I realized that less miles means a lot steeper. like a whole lot steeper. And it was a beating. I mean, beating enough to where I didn't want to do it again. And I've been doing big days all month. So it was just easier back in Utah. I get back, the weather's good again. Next day, 16K, knock it out. I think that was my fastest day of the month. Second 16K day in a row for the last week, which the next day was when the foot tendonitis showed up. And that's kind of when that all started coming down. And, you know, it was honestly like that sucked a lot, but it wasn't that big of a deal compared to the other ones because the other ones brought me to the mindset of knowing that, yeah, it might hurt, but I'm going to push through it, you know? So really the last week was pretty easy in a sense, at least mentally. You know, physically it's still a beating on the body, but I mean, it was just routine. Like I've been doing it for 3 weeks now and it just became routine. Just get up, get your stuff together, go hike, get it done, go home, go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're fitting this travel in there too, man. Like that doesn't make it things any easier. Like I'm picturing where Mount Morrison is and DIA is. So I'm guessing you're flying into DIA, going to one of the closest mountains and just trying to, you know, I need today's vert. Got to get it. And then you know, down to the Colorado Springs. That's not too far away. So like I'm mapping this out logistically in my mind and I'm like, man, this guy is just getting after it.
Those 3 days definitely threw a curveball, like the whole mental game, just because the 3 or 2.5 weeks leading up to that, I was doing the exact same thing every day.
Yeah.
It's like now I don't have my truck. I have a small car to do all my stuff in, and it just makes it a lot different.
Yeah.
And I could feel it instantly. I was like, I need to get back to where, I'm in a groove.
Yeah.
Which the incline was hard. I did 4 laps before I went and grabbed a little bit of lunch. And after the 4 laps, I sat down in the car and I was like, man, I don't know if I want to go back up. Like, that sucked. And I'm like about to pass out from probably bonking without having enough calories. Sure enough, I go back up there, and then second half was easier than the first. So that was cool.
And then the last day, was that another 16K day?
16K. Yep.
Okay.
So I started at, I think 5 or 6 a.m. just so I could be done early. And of course, another injury happens the last day of the month. I step on a rock wrong and sprain the inside of my ankle. So every lap, my ankle's just getting worse and worse, like just more and more painful. I'm like, man, this just needs to be over. It's like, I know I'm going to get it, but like, this just needs to end.
Yeah.
It was a great day though.
Was it like a celebration day? Did you have a bunch of people out there with you supporting you? Yeah.
So my parents flew in, my brother flew in, my best friend growing up flew in. Julian actually flew in too, the guy that runs Cirque Series. Film crew flew in, which we had a guy out there helping us, but the main guy that's been, putting it all together from here in Colorado, he flew in. And then all the people that I met on the trail, like probably at least 15 of those people were up at the top of the hill waiting for me. And so I'm hiking up with my teammates, super stoked. I actually hit 400K, like 500 feet before I got to them. So like we have our own little, oh y'all, let's go. and then we cruised to the top, and it was a good time, seeing all the people I love and care about up there, and people that I met throughout the month that have helped support both physically and mentally, and just, every aspect of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That's really cool.
And the best part, I had a bottle of Blanton's, if you know what that is. It's a pretty good bourbon. I bought it 5 years ago when I knew I was going to join the Navy, try the SEAL stuff. I was saving it for after buds, which I didn't complete. And so that bottle has been saved ever since for the next biggest thing I do.
And that was it.
Finally got to open it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible, man. Do you have any idea where the film's going to be released when it comes out? Is it just going to be YouTube? Yeah. Where is it just going to be YouTube, or is it going to be somewhere else?
That's a great question, honestly. But I'll make sure to get you. I'll make sure to send it over to you for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Just an incredible effort, performance. So you mentioned Leadville as hopefully in the future. Do you have any other? I mean, it sounds like you do well at these big ass 250-mile races too. Like, is that something that's in your?
I would love to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
All of the above. I just don't really know where to start because I have other goals I would do, like, Nolan's, or even trying maybe the unsupported FKT on all the 14ers. Like those kind of goals really, really catch my eye for the most part.
Yeah.
But also the ultra running aspect too. It's like I've known I really want to dig into it. And every ultra runner's goal is to go to UTMB probably. So it's like I want to stack points for that, and just kind of the whole 9 yards. Hard Rock would be sick.
Yeah.
Going to the Barkley would be sick, even though who knows if you're going to finish it or not, but it'd be so cool.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Really, any of those things, like ultra running is obviously hard, both physically and mentally. And so it's very attractive to me.
Yeah. Well, I think you would do really well at it. Are you actively looking into getting into Leadman next year?
Yeah, just a little bit. I don't know how the lottery system really works. I know there is a lottery system, I believe. But like worst case scenario, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, like, right around now is the time to do it. Like November, December, I think, is when you want to get your name in for Leadville, or for Leadman rather. And your chances of getting in are easier if you're signed up for Leadman.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, because less people want to do the Leadman.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
No, every year
a lot more it sounds like a lot more my speed.
Oh, dude. Yeah, no, there's so much respect to all the lead men and women out there every single year because I'll go out there and cheer for the 100-mile runners. And, you know, the lead mans wear a different bib. And so everyone
Do
always
they?
calls out like, yeah, lead man. And they know what that guy's done. Like it's
Oh,
legit,
yeah.
man. You get your respect out there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Cocodona 250 is another one you should look into, man, because that doesn't, I don't think there's a lottery or even a waiting list right now. That race is in
Really?
April, or no, it's in May in Arizona. And I think at this point you can still just sign up online right now.
Oh, awesome. I'm going to check
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah, you should, man.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, this was a cool conversation and hats off to you and the huge accomplishment. So when you set a world record, like what happens? Does the Guinness Book of World Records come to your house and like,
I wish it was like
or is
that.
it really
You
low
know,
key?
it's a lot of logistics. So we're working on the Guinness side of things right now. You know,
Really?
the world record, it's set. That's kind of what happened. But originally, like before we even started, Julian signed me up for the Guinness Book of World Records attempt. And so we got all that in the books, like ready to rock. So they knew I was attempting it.
Okay.
And so now I'm working on getting all the logistics put together, sent over to them and whatnot. It's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to take me, once I actually sit down and start doing it, probably close to like 5 days of getting everything together the way it needs to be so they actually accept it.
Okay.
You know?
Wow.
So hopefully that'll be next.
Dude, it's so cool. I mean, 400K, I just can't even imagine, dude. Like I said, I spend a lot of time in the mountains, so I kind of have an idea what 400K looks like. Like, you know, I can picture 15, 16K days. I know what that looks like, but day after day after day, dude, hats off, man. That's brutal.
It was a hell of a month.
And we can find you on Instagram, right? If anyone wants to look you up, they can find you there.
Yep. I'm Chris J. Fish.
Sweet. Cool. At Chris J. Fish.
Yep.
Right on, dude. Well, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to keep an eye on you over the next couple of years. And if you do Nolan's, you're definitely coming back on the show and going to tell me every gritty detail, man.
Let's go.
Okay. Cool, brother.
Hey,
well, congrats. Thanks for doing this.
You.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you so much.
Keep
it was
up,
a good
man.
talk.
Cool.
Hey, have a good rest of your day, brother.
You too. You too. Thanks.
Bye.